Welcome to Weekend Warrior TV. I'm Richie, and this is CoolCombat Airsoft Field Review.
CoolCombat is located in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. $15 will get you inside the door, and with cookout right around the corner, you can finish the day off for around $20. They also sell snacks at the field if you don't feel like driving, and you can always participate in weekly raffles. And 150 players usually show up on any given Saturday. Now time to meet the owners.
I'm Mark with CoolCombat. Glad to have you guys here.
I'm Steve with CoolCombat. Glad to have you out.
Okay, and you know what are some of your background as far as airsoft goes? Do you have any military background or?
Yeah, I was in the Army back in the 80s at Fort Bragg. Spent 4 years at Fort Bragg, and now I've been self-employed for 22 years. My nephew's got me in airsoft about a little over 2 years ago. We just started playing at my house. I got this guy over, and he was like, "Hey, come up to my place. It's cool." That's what started.
Awesome. And as far as CoolCombat goes, what are some key points of interest in your field? What makes your field cooler than say others?
You'll find the junkyard here has a lot of old grading equipment. You'll never find anywhere else. A lot of tight-in areas to shoot around, and then you got open areas too. The field's not too big that you just get bored and get lost, and the field's not too small where you're on top of it.
Got a lot of different terrain. We got the junkyard, we got the backwoods over there, and then we got wide open fields just kind of in.
Awesome. And then you personally, what's your favorite airsoft game? Like, what's your most memorable airsoft game you've ever played?
Very early on, we played a game here, and I watched Luke from Task Force 16. We ran the gauntlet. It was me and him, the VIP, against 15 other people, and I watched him take out 14 of them. He was turning somersaults, shooting Matrix style. That's still the best airsoft moment I've ever seen.
And I know that Gauntlet games is actually one of your signature games. Can you kind of explain what a Gauntlet game is?
Yeah, it's our version of Escort to VIP. So we always take about 20-25% of the players and make them a VIP team. We have a VIP, a president or whatever, and they have to escort that president through the junkyard. So far, nobody's ever made it without using a respawn. So,
Awesome, cool. And then our last question is, what is your favorite airsoft gun that you've ever played with, or that you've really won?
I guess the M4 for me is the best ones I've played with and used. It's a real interesting gun.
Do you have any particular brand that you like over others?
My son's got a G&G I really enjoy. It usually takes a licking and keeps on ticking. That's what I like about it. Kids with its gun, the more they use them, the more you work on them. And it's been pretty good.
I love my MP5. It's got a tight bore barrel, big battery. I can shoot it all day long.
Awesome, cool. And if you could add one thing to your field to make it better, what would it be?
More cover out in the field. We just need to add more stuff out there.
Awesome, cool. Well, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Hey, appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Thank you.
Let's see what Easy Company has to say about the field.
CoolCombat in North Carolina. It's a great location. Lots of people here, lots of fun. I personally am older, so war is a young man's game, so I'm beat. But it is great. I enjoyed it and definitely recommend it.
What was your most favorite part of the day?
Personal favorite part of the day was just kind of assaulting the different bases. Moments of feeling completely inundated because there were so many, enemies approaching. But all in all, I would rate it, 9.
What was your least favorite part of the day?
Ooh, least favorite. There are a lot of younger kids. Not necessarily a bad thing because there are a lot of things to shoot at, but they do tend to bunch up, sit around, stand around. But not too bad. Not too bad at all.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your input. Would you recommend this to your friends?
I would, yes. I'd highly recommend CoolCombat in North Carolina to just about anybody.
It was good. I wish I had my mask on today, otherwise I wouldn't have all these pelts on my face, but it was good. It was a good game. Went out with a bang.
Yeah. What was your most favorite part of the day?
My most favorite part of the day. Probably just laying there in the woods and waiting for them to come up and them not seeing me and then just lighting them up in the face. And
all right. And what was your least favorite part of the day?
little kids not calling their hits.
Yeah, I can feel that. All right, man. Thanks for your input. Would you recommend CoolCombat to any of your friends?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, good deal.
Probably one of the best games I've been to yet.
And why was that?
I got a lot of kills.
That's cool.
A lot of fun.
All right, so what would you say is your favorite part of the day?
Probably when I I sprinted directly at these kids behind a tractor. Safety killed like 5-6 people with no ammo.
Sweet, dude. All right, so what was your least favorite part of the day?
Little kids not calling their hits.
Seems to be the consensus today. All right, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Would you recommend this to your friends?
Yeah, definitely.
Sweet, so you like CoolCombat.
Yes, I love CoolCombat.
Awesome, man. All right, good deal.
Well, I really enjoyed today. It was a lot of fun. We now have the rain coming in, but it's really not that bad. We left at about 4 o'clock. I really enjoyed a lot of the field, except the open parts. You get more into the woods, and you get into like the brush pile. You can get some good cover. I mean, but there's a lot of distance on shooting people. Had a few mishaps on safety kills, but it was okay. I mean,
So what would you say that this field needs to work on the most?
putting more cover in the open areas. I mean, that's pretty much it. But I mean,
So what would you say is your most favorite part of this field? What was your favorite part of today?
the back side of the woods going into the brush pile. We had to crawl up to actually clear out about 6 or 7 guys. Once we got that, we had a clean, straight shot to get to the brush pile and take over the power lines area.
Right, and then earlier today you were talking about the choke points, right?
Yeah, there's a few choke points. They do have a big fence right in the middle of it, and there's only 2 ways to actually get through it, unless if you want to cross it, but there's really no stability on jumping over it with barbed wire and a wire fence.
Gotcha. So what would you say, out of everything today, you'd say mostly they got to work on covering the field and maybe eliminating some of their choke points?
Yeah, covering the field and maybe actually taking out that fence. I mean, I know this is part-time at cow pasture, and they probably can't do that, but that would really eliminate just actually moving around instead of having to walk through open area to actually get to a way to actually cross the wire fence.
All right, that's good input. What would you recommend CoolCombat to any other airsoft friends? Or
Yeah, I would. I mean, they have a good turnout, a lot of people, a lot of good kids that actually played, a lot of people that call their hits. Once everyone starts getting a stressful situation, then you actually don't feel the hits, and some people don't call them, but it's pretty good.
Sweet. All right, man. So appreciate your input. Thanks.
It's a lot of fun. I like this place. Second time being here. You get a lot of people. It's a lot of fun. So, yeah.
What would you say was your most favorite part of today?
Sniping people.
Hey! Yeah! That's it! From 200 feet, baby, on a tree.
Right in the face.
So this is a good sniper field, you'd
It
say?
is, sometimes. When you get in the open field, you can snipe people. But at the same time, it's hard with open fields because there's not a lot of cover, so you can get hit a lot. But I think it's a very good field for what they have. They're doing a good job.
What would you say that this field needs to work on the most?
They need like a city aspect into it, in my personal opinion. They have one area, they have 2 or 3 huge open fields that they could develop very well. But then again, it is a cow pasture, so work comes first. But I think that would be a lot of fun. But just to get more cover. But I think to take it to the next step would to put a city aspect instead of just a junkyard. But that's just my opinion.
All right, man. So would you recommend CoolCombat Airsoft to any of your friends? Or?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun when you have a good group of guys. You know, if you were here alone, it probably wouldn't be as fun because there's a lot of little kids, and there's a pretty decent amount of good airsofters. But it's just you got to take what you can take. You know, so like we had 6 guys today, and it was a pretty good group, and we got to do a lot of good work. You know. Kind of the focal points and the reason why our team was pushing up and stuff, because we were actually aggressive. But I think if you had like your whole squad here, I think it'd be a lot of fun, definitely.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate your input. Thanks.
So I'm sitting with my brother here. We just got back from CoolCombat in North Carolina. So Richie, what was your player's perspective? Give a review. What did you like about CoolCombat?
Really liked CoolCombat as far as like they had a really good family atmosphere. So if you're an older, maybe you have kids that like to play airsoft, and you want to take your son and his friends out for a fun afternoon. Great place for that experience. As far as for experienced airsofting players, the quote-unquote professionals, not that there are that many of those, it's a good place. There's a lot to shoot at, which is definitely a positive. The little kids sometimes it's kind of crowded with the younger crowd, but for the most part, unlike a lot of other fields, one field comes to mind, Blackstone Airsoft in Virginia. A lot of the little kids have a problem calling their hits. At this field, it's not so much of an issue, as much as there's a lot of them. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, it's just there are a lot, and sometimes it does get kind of crowded as far as the games go.
Okay, good. What, in your personal opinion, what do they need to work on?
I think pretty much the consensus was they have kind of pulled different sections, and basically the main areas is like this open field where they have kind of minimum coverage, and with a field area behind it, a wooded area behind it. They have a large wooded area, and then they have their junkyard area. Junkyard area I'd say is pretty decent. The biggest thing I'd probably change in the junkyard area is maybe make it a little bit safer. There are a few things that possibly could fall on. I know, but for the most part, it's not that big of a deal. The main thing that I think we kind of all felt like that they definitely needed, and even the owners had stated that they should change, they need a lot more coverage in the field. And I think one of the great suggestions I can give the owners, there's a company called Tesco, and they make a lot of barriers and stuff for military. It'd be a great alternative to them making trenches or using sandbags. Sometimes sandbags can get really expensive, but I know you can buy Tesco barriers for a pretty decent price, and I think that'd be really good for their field. And then that way they can still use it as a cow pasture, because the field is a cow pasture during the week. So that's probably the biggest thing I'd say I'd change.
Would you suggest people to go to CoolCombat?
Yeah, I would definitely say it's a fun weekend. You're not going to get like maybe the most organized military style op, but it's a really good day. You're going to shoot a lot of BBs. There's going to be a lot of targets to shoot at. They have a great turnout every week. It's a very friendly, chill atmosphere for the most part. You can get a little bit for the hardcore players, but you also can get for like the recreational players. If you're looking for like hardcore military simulation, it's not exactly the best place for it. But if you're looking to just get out for a weekend with your buddies and play a game, that's definitely a good place to go.
Thank you, Richie.
Awesome. Okay, so one thing we did forget, so we will leave a link below to CoolCombat's website, and then also a link to our public Facebook page. Alright, peace.